Hi, my name is Mark, and I am glad you're here at underscore freedom for life underscore because we've got a conversation that you really want to hear. Because today I'm going to talk about how you can win at any disagreement. So let's get started, shall we? And as we're getting started, could you do me a favor? Could you subscribe and become part of the Freedom family? And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you're notified anytime we have a conversation that you want to be a part of. So how do you do it? How do you win at any disagreement? I actually have had some personal experience, not just in disagreements that I've had, but in the opportunity to walk other people through disagreements that they're having. The challenge and the issue with having relationships is sometimes you don't get along. Sometimes you don't agree. Can I get a witness? Well, I found out that there's one way, one guaranteed way that you can win any disagreement you're having with your spouse, with your friends, with your coworkers, with your boss. And it comes down to this. I'll give you the punchline before I give you the how-tos. The punchline is this: you apologize. Come to find out, when you apologize in any kind of disagreement, not for everything, I'm not telling you to take blame for things that aren't your part, but what happens is when I apologize for my part in our disagreement, all of a sudden there's one thing that happens. I diffuse the situation. Now you become less defensive and I show myself to be less defensive, and we can move forward in figuring out what's the real issue in this disagreement. Because how many of you know that there's this, the outside stuff, the superfluous stuff, which means this, the stuff that doesn't matter. The he said, she said stuff that a lot of times we argue about instead of getting to the core issue of how did I hurt you or how did you hurt me? And it's in that place when we get to that core issue that we can actually get resolution. So how do you win at any disagreement? Well, the thing you do is you apologize for your part in that disagreement. I know it's not easy. I know sometimes you don't want to. I know sometimes it takes a while to get to that place where you're willing to, but it is the one way to win. But here's what I want to do. I want to give you some structure around that apology because sometimes we're horrible at it. Have you ever been in that situation where you're with somebody and they apologize, or honestly, maybe you do? And at the end of it, it sounds less like an apology than an excuse. So I'm going to give you 3 things that you should do, can do, and if you do those, it becomes an apology that has an impact instead of just an excuse for somebody. The first is this: no stories. See, a lot of times we want to kind of do a preamble, right? I want to give you my history and my experiences and all the things that have happened, really not to try and give an apology, but to give an excuse for my behavior. And sometimes we get into that story, when I was 6 years old or as a young man in this and all this kind of stuff that we do. The preamble stops the apology from being effective because it starts to look like you're trying to convince me that you're not at fault when you're also apologizing. It kind of is a misnomer. You don't make sense when you do that. So the first is this: no stories. Nobody needs to hear the story of your backstory and the past 10 years of your life and how you got to this point. They really only want to deal with what's happening right now. The second thing is this: no deflection. See, sometimes we'll use excuses or deflections. Deflection meaning this: well, if this wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't have. If the boss wasn't mean with me, I wouldn't have come home and yelled at you. Or if I hadn't been cut off in traffic, I wouldn't have called you a name, or whatever the thing is, right? It's a deflection. I'm not really at fault because of something else that happened to me. And that's not an apology either. That's just another form of an excuse. At the end of the day, if I'm deflecting it and blaming it on things around me, I'm doing 2 things. One is really saying, I'm not sorry, it's somebody else's fault. And the second one, internally, is giving my power to something else. Because what I'm really saying is, those folks have power over my decisions, my actions, and my words. And I don't think you want either one of those to be true. So hey, the second thing is no deflections. The third is the word I keep using: no excuses. Really, it comes down to this. It really comes down to me blaming you for my anger or me blaming you for my words. Certainly somebody else's conversation and part of it can have an impact, but at the end of the day, I'm in control of my mouth and I'm in control of my thoughts. So when I try and blame you, well, if you wouldn't have, I wouldn't have, it's not an apology. It's a blame wrapped in an apology, which means it's nothing. How do you win at any disagreement in your life? I guarantee you it's one thing. Apologize. Why do we have these structures? Why do we not want to deflect or give stories or make excuses? Why do we want to just apologize and apologize alone? Because at the end of the day, if you're in a relationship with somebody you're disagreeing with, you're missing the core point. See, if you're in a relationship with somebody, you have this place here, right? This place that is special and precious for the two of you. It's this place where you can be vulnerable and honest and open. It's a place where you can be you and they can be them. It's this place where you build relationship. That's the thing that gets affected when we're in disagreement. So when I apologize or when the other person apologizes, they're the first person to come back to the middle, to that place of unity, that place of vulnerability, that place of authenticity and honesty. The first one to come back to that place wins. And it's not that I'm winning over you, it's I'm winning the relationship back. See, if you're in a relationship that matters, that place matters more than anything that we could disagree on. And the sooner we focus back on our unity, authenticity, vulnerability, honesty, the sooner we are back into a relationship that can move forward without that little thing in the back of our mind. But remember when, right? So the first person to apologize is the first person to vote for unity again, authenticity again, honesty again. And it's the first person to win in that conversation. If you do that, you'll win in any disagreement you're a part of. Hi, my name is Mark, and I'm glad you're here at _freedom4life_. Do me a favor, if you resonate with this, if you're in a disagreement, if you're about to get in one, if you've been in one, hit the like button down below and let me know where you've actually been in a disagreement and won by apologizing, by being the first person to unity. And do me another favor, look down below. Not only do we have a course, Life Mastery, where you can start to become the person you're created to be so you don't have to worry about having other people affect you and hurt you, but I also got my book, Life Mastery, Living Life by Design, Not by Default. There's a link down below for that as well, where you can have a framework for figuring out what does it look like to live in a place of not being offended and in a place of winning. And at the end of the day, if you do nothing else, click one of those links, do something good for yourself, and dominate your day.